Hey, hello, hello, beautiful family. It's good to see you all. I'm so glad to be here with you all tonight and super excited about our call. And I'm excited to lean in and listen. I've got my notebook ready and my pen ready to take notes because I know it's going to be amazing. Before I pass the baton to Mrs. Sarah and Miss Beth, I have a few things I want to share with you guys, just logistics. And I also want to encourage you before we kick off to write a win from your business in the chat. What is a win that happened in your business in the chat? What does that mean? Did someone say yes to our 7-day group? Did you have a challenger who had a weight loss win or a non-scale victory? Did you send your first invite? I want to see them. So start typing now. This is something that I'm really going to start getting on our team about, is counting our wins, because I have been working with a mindset coach and he's rubbing off on me. And if there's one thing I've noticed is that if you can't focus on the positive, you're going to struggle in this business. What you focus on grows. And so today I had my call with him, and at the end of every call, he makes us tell wins and just keep talking and talking and talking. And when I was finished, he said, we've been working together for 6 months and that's the longest you've ever talked. And I feel like you could keep telling me stuff. What a shift. And I was like, yes. So I want you guys to do this. So we got, oh, yes, win, getting paid this week, having coaches who are part of a new coach call. That's awesome. Getting paid, having 2 people contact you today. 50 points. I'm like, 50? I don't know what that is. 50 wins. High five. Having the wins can be anything from big, like I got a paycheck, like Megan shared in the team today. She got $200 this week. How amazing is that? But it can also be like, I shared my transformation post today. I reached out to someone who was on my heart, even though I was nervous. Like, it doesn't have to be monumental by Beachbody recognition standards, because the smaller wins, if you celebrate the heck out of them, you will hit the bigger ones. Kind of like when you focus on the daily vitals of invite, connect, follow up consistently, you hit the big goal. So keep writing them. Team Cup is still going on for those of you participating on a team. Super excited. If you use all your promo codes tonight, you get new ones tomorrow. So that's exciting. We have our stressed to blessed. I keep calling it blessed to stressed, which is not what we want to do to people.
I have said it backwards like almost every time.
Right? It makes me pause, think. But our group starts on Monday. So today is the last day really for people to order like their VIP bundles, but not the last day to get people in the group. The value of this group is it's a way to build trust and to get to know the people that you want to serve. So I want to encourage you to keep inviting. They do not expire tonight, Jennifer, but if you use all 3 by tonight, they'll give you 3 more. So it's just a promotion they're trying to do. There's still pumpkin spice boxes being put in the share carts when people get a Shakeology Challenge Pack 2, which is an amazing promotion. But honestly, y'all, I'm going to just share this last piece and then I'm going to hand it over. I wanted to talk to you guys and just tell you that if there's one thing that I see happening in our team that I just want to recognize and name it, it's sprouting. We have little buds on our tree. It's springtime early. And the reason I'm saying this is we had a season in this team where I've seen a lot of you guys stand up and say, I want to do this. And you put your head your head down and you picked up your plow and you started to work your field. And I've seen it in the number of names that are on the tracker rockstar list. Like my daughter does the shout outs and the lists keep getting longer. And I see it in the ways you're sharing in the group. And I see it in the ways that you share on the team call. And I see in the ways that you're showing up in the challenge groups. And when I went outside the other day, I looked outside and we have these crazy daisies that grow in my front yard on these like sticks, and they stink like marigolds, but they're beautiful because they're floppy and I love daisies. And the little tiny buds are busting as the snow is coming down. And it was like God was talking to me, and I voice messaged Sarah and I said, we're budding. Like the team is budding and we're blooming. You're about to bloom. So for those of you who have been plowing and feeling like nothing is happening, I see the fruit coming on your tree. And I want you to know that. I see it. And the way for you to see it is to really count your wins. So I want to encourage you to every week say, I can't get on the team call till I have at least 3 to put in the chat. Our cathedral builders have to have 10 or they can't get on the call with me. 10. So I want to challenge you to have 3. Every Thankful Thursday, I want you to like list a win, because if you want your team to be fruitful and multiply, you have to first be able to be willing to recognize your own fruit or in each other. So you can also, if someone's not shouting themselves out and you know they had a win, you can shout them out in the team because we're a family. So I just wanted to share that. This week for the Freedom Academy, the focus was the power of your story. And so I'm really excited tonight to lean in with Sarah and Beth, and I'm not going to talk anymore and take any more of their time because I know what they have to say is amazing. And so I'm going to hand it over. And thank you ladies so much for leading us tonight.
Hey guys, I am Sarah Kroger. Beth and I are going to talk a little bit tonight about storytelling and the power of your story and why that is such a crucial piece of the puzzle, really, because you can't do anything if you can't get your message out there, right? Because there's no way to communicate to people if you can't get your story out there. And the reason we talk so heavily about telling your story is because your story is so much more impactful than a list of ingredients, right? There is value in talking about how your Shakeology tastes like a chocolate milkshake, but it has the power of 5 salads. That's great, right? It is great to talk about if you hear people mentioning ingredients. I had somebody I was talking to today who said she has to buy an ashwagandha supplement. I was like, oh, except that's in Shakeology. You know, like we've been talking about this and she's been worried about all these supplements she has to buy. And so it's important to be knowledgeable about your products. It's important to be using them and those kinds of things. But no one is going to fall in love with this journey because you can spout off the details of maca powder, right? Nobody is going to do this when you can, like, I think it's fascinating that a 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds has 9 grams of protein in it. I think that's fascinating. And I love knowing that. And I love sharing those kinds of things because it is something that, you know, is good for people to know. But that's not why people join me, right? People join you because they have a problem and they're hurting. Our goal in all of this is to help them solve problems and to heal wounds. And our stories connect us to people in a way that an ingredients list never could, right? We share our stories to share value, because whether someone joins you or not, when you share your story and you share this message and this solution, not from a place of perfection, but from a place of I'm working on this and I'm better off than I was yesterday, right? I got a message from somebody who said they were feeling terrible and they'd hurt their back, but that they had, you know, done this one step in their journey that day because they were better off today than they were yesterday. And it's tapping into that hope. And so even if they never join you, you sharing what your struggle is and how you are working through it, or something that you have come up with a solution for. And that's kind of the whole point of our free group next week, where we're going to talk about all of these things and how to do all of these things. You're offering people hope. And so Beth and I were talking the other day, and she has such an amazing story. And so we're going to share some of it today and show you how sharing your story can help you connect with people who have this wound that they can't even really name yet, but they can hear themselves in you. And so for me, when I was talking about particularly business goals in the last couple of years, most of the people that I talked to were not trying to save money in order to buy pigs, right? But they could identify in my story with this concept of something that they wanted to grow for their family, that they had to work hard and be focused on, right? They could identify with this concept of having, you know, more month than money, and wishing that they had something that could fill that gap, or a thing they wanted to do, or a place they wanted to go, or something like that. Like Kelly has told a story about, you know, buying her daughter gym shoes and being able to go and buy her these new Nikes that she wanted. And I could identify with this concept of of having to tell my kids no, not because it was something that I didn't want them to have, but it was because we just couldn't afford it. Right. And those are powerful, powerful stories because people connect with that. And when you can tell your story and show them hope for change, they feel very connected to you. And that is in itself a win. But also from a business perspective, most of the time when people say no to you, they don't trust you yet, and they don't trust themselves yet. And so when you can connect to them through this story, through authentically telling your story, that creates that trust and that bond. So I have a couple of questions to ask Beth, and I can't wait for you to hear her story and see how it is that piece of the puzzle has helped her in this journey. So Beth, you want to unmute and we can get on with the thoughts of it. Sorry. Whew. So when you try to read chat and look at questions at the same time. Okay, so Beth, first of all, this is Beth. If you don't know her, you should. She's awesome. And Beth has been a coach on our team for a couple months and just went Emerald, which is so exciting, and is working on building her business. Okay, so Beth, when you started, how do you even know what your story is?
Yeah, so, I kind of just reflect on how life was before and how life is now. So, just thinking like, why did I even get started? Why did I want this? Why did this help solve a solution for me? And we did this on retreat, but I don't know if you can even see it, but it's just like literally, okay, well, it's really washed out, but really on one side of the paper is before, and writing down everything you felt before you started your health and fitness journey with Beachbody, like everything that was going on in your life. And then after, and I actually can just share a couple because I feel like they're helpful for kind of like a jumping point of how topics and things that I come up with to share. It's like I tried everything and nothing produced results. I mean, how many of us can relate to that? I was we moved in September of this past year, and I was, putting all of our like stuff in boxes and things. And I looked on my shelf and I literally had Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, the Daniel Plan, which is put out by Rick Warren. I had, it's called Fit for the King, like, and Made to Crave, like all of these things. And I was like, nothing is working, and I had been in Beachbody before. I'm sure if I've shared this before, and then I kind of took some time off as kind of like huge turmoil in life and uprooting my family. So I kind of took a step back and thought, that is the only thing that has worked for me. I've tried all of these different products, all of these things. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. They just didn't work for me. Right. So so anyway, I can like talk on those things. Like I'm sure there's been lots of people that have tried multiple things to find what they're looking for. And I think the biggest thing in those is missing, the accountability. I think in the team. And then I was just kind of like, I put trapped into the food fight, where it's like, I just, this mental battle of, oh gosh, I ate really bad. Now I have to eat really clean. And then I eat really clean. And then I eat really, it's like, a lot of people can relate to that, I'm sure, sorry, something popped up on my computer. Anyway, so there's just a couple of like things that I put down like before, because so you can communicate with people. I tried everything, nothing got results. Well, I got results, and I can share that with my before and after photos. I was trapped in the food fight. Well, now I have mental clarity. Like I can see that in my life. I have food freedom from 2B mindset. Like it's I felt trapped by too many calories, calorie counting and the like all that goes into that. And because it's free, because it's easy. I can see a plate and see where I need to put my food. So I think really just kind of like honing in on what life was like before and what life is like after, and saying like, before. And the reason you do that is just to see, this is why this solution works.
And it really gets you in the frame of mind because we're all working on our goals, right? And so I right now am working on busting through a plateau that I had hit. And I had been struggling with, I'd made all this progress and it kind of had not just stood still, but started to creep back up again. And I had to make some changes and I was feeling really discouraged. But if I don't stop and look back, like I was 50 pounds, right? And I got stuck in this where I am now. And I've been so frustrated about that. And then I forget what happened before. Like I forget what that was like. And so doing this exercise, we did it on retreat and we've done it at other things. But if you never have, it's as simple as like Beth was holding a piece of paper and on one side you write before Beachbody and on the other side you write now. And you just parallel those things. And I just wrote a couple things down while she was talking, like, think about this post where she's reflecting on packing up cookbooks and talking about all these things and literally putting all of these, what felt like failures, into a box. Here's another one. Here's another thing I tried that didn't work. Here's another $50 I spent that didn't help. Here's another. And how she can then identify with her audience through that and then provide this message, right? Provide this opportunity and this hope. And people can identify with that. And it's a very human side of things like packing and unpacking and all of that. So you talked about like your audience and deciding who to share, but how do you know who your target audience is?
So I love this question because I think about the me of before and I just talk to that person, the person who's like, gosh, I tried everything. It doesn't work. And I even say like, hey, you know who I'm talking about, right. Really just like, and I think because it's such a personal place and that's also what makes it feel not icky, right? You're just like, yeah. Because this is my experience and this is how I've come through it. Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, it's like so many Americans are it's just a big thing that we're battling right now. And I just feel like it's a huge thing that people can relate to. So I think there's so many times where we make these choices. We are the ones who are putting this on ourselves when really, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to like unlearn. And so I think it's just kind of like being real and being like, hey, be gentle with yourself. It's okay.
Right. Well, and you can offer really specific encouragement to someone who's struggling with what you were struggling with because you've been through it. So what would you say about like the person who sees your post who doesn't identify with, packing up? I'm just using the cookbook thing again, but like packing up all the books from these programs that didn't work. What would you say to us about the person who reads that and doesn't identify with it?
It's not meant for them. At the end of the day, like my story is meant for people who need my story. Mm-hmm. Come to just understand that that's okay. That it's not, some people may not. I had a pretty vulnerable post for me up a couple of weeks ago where it just was like depression stuff. Like just it does. And some people don't understand it. And so I just kind of try and shed some light on it. But, it's like you can choose your attitude or you can choose it's like sometimes you can't. And I think that's just it's being okay that your story isn't for everyone. And that's fine because that person wasn't going to join me anyway. So that's okay.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, like to free yourself from worrying about all of those people because that person, you're right, that person probably wasn't going to join you anyway. And like, I think that it's really important to not water down your message to try to reach more people because you're going to miss everybody when you're trying to catch everybody because you're not going to resonate with anybody. If you are casting such a wide net and trying to like cover all the bases, and not offend any of the people. And honestly, I'll be really, truly honest. Like I have never turned anyone away who wanted to work with us, but we have a pretty specific charism of our team. And just by nature of, you know, we talk about God and we pray at the end of our calls, and, you know, those of us who are still around on Sunday after we close up from retreat, we go to church together, you know, like that doesn't mean, I mean, there are people who have come through this team who have found a relationship with God through this team, and the doors are open, but you are probably not going to really identify with a screaming atheist over, you know, some of these things. And you know what? There's another coach out there who will. Right. And they would be a better fit, and they would be able to help each other better. And I never want it to sound exclusive or anything like that, because we're not. That's not who we are. That's not who anyone who's attracted to this team is. But the beauty of this is that you attract more people the more specific that you get. And I'll tell you, if you do any social media training, they will tell you the same thing. If you go through Kayla Ibanez training, if you go through Bob Heilig training, if you go through Josh Coates training, like A, there's no shortage of people who need this, and B, you cannot get specific enough. Because again, if I talk specifically about saving money to buy pigs and you don't ever want to buy pigs, you can still identify with the concept of saving your money to buy something that's important to you. And when you're talking about something that's so personal, like Beth was saying, with like the depression or you know, dealing with being pregnant and trying to be healthy, or dealing with screaming babies that won't go to bed, like you're really going to tap into somebody who's struggling with the same thing that you are, right? And that allows you to speak more boldly because you know their struggle. Sorry, I cut you off. I got all excited about that one because I think that so often we want to be open to everybody. And in that we lose everybody because we fail to be specific enough. Okay. So identifying your target audience, that was a great answer, Beth, where you're just talking to that you of before. And for a new coach, it could be the you of last week. It doesn't have to be from this place of finished product perfection, because really none of us are. Even those people who have hit a goal weight are now, you know, battling inflammation or dealing with depression or a new chapter in their parenting or job changes or whatever. There's always something that you're working on. Okay, so when you share, Beth, when you go to post on social media and you share, what do you do on purpose when you share? I think it's a little similar to I think maybe we already talked about this. Did I ask a question that we already talked about?
I mean, I can kind of go in a different way, I think. What I do, again, I think that it's similar, but it's a little bit different in the sense of like sharing from my perspective too. Is doing it before too, I was like, well, I want to, you know, just cast the net everywhere. And that I think too, you're the like authenticity of you know, of kind of like what someone else is getting out of purchasing the products or being in the challenge group is like, you get me too. Like I'm, you know, I'm the kind of like the face of this, you know, for now, for this person joining. And so what I mean, I think what I like to do mostly too is it kind of came into focus a little bit like when I was on retreat is like, you know, I'm a Christian and that's okay, you know, like I don't know, because I really grew up in a very like diverse high school and college and things like that, and I was like, well, I don't want to offend anybody, and but in the day, like I can share my version of Christianity that needs to be shared, you know, like I don't really identify sometimes with like a very conservative bent, and that's okay, you know, and just like being okay. I guess I think the biggest thing is like what I'm doing on purpose is showing, keeping it real, you know. It's like that's really like my kind of like my life mantra. It's just like what you see is what you get.
Yeah. And honestly, and I think in a day and age of like the concept of being Instagram perfect, you know, like I think that that's so refreshing, and that people really identify with that, especially when you are intentionally being positive. Because one of the things that you said to me when we were talking was that like other people have noticed your positivity, and other people have noticed your always like focusing on that gratitude and focusing on those wins, and people notice that and pick up on it, and people pick up on the fact that, you know, you're not ranting about whatever it is that's annoying you today kind of thing, but that you're always offering a solution. And I think that that is really attractive to people, because that's something that's missing, especially when people feel overwhelmed and hopeless. Okay, so part of what you do on purpose when you're sharing is, you know, the you of before, and identifying with what you know they're thinking and all of that kind of stuff. And you're not worried about the wrong person because they probably weren't going to join you anyway. And there's somebody else that they are more matched with, that they're going to hear the lesson better from. And then there's somebody that you're going to speak the lesson better to them. But when you start talking about vision, and you're building a business now, how did you get a clear vision for your business?
Yeah. So a little bit of my like actual but a little bit of my like background is that I worked in nonprofit before I worked at BMW, and so I would help nonprofits, and I was part of trying to start one too, of like come up with their mission statement, and I feel like it's super powerful. So sometimes what I've done actually is like looked up like, what is Starbucks mission statement? And I just wrote Starbucks mission statement is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Right? BMW's mission statement is to become the world's leading provider of premium products and premium services for individual mobility. And does it say anything about cars? No. I mean, it says individual mobility, you know? So I thought about like, you know, my mission statement doesn't have to say, you know, we have workouts and shakes. You know what I mean? Like what it is like the essence of what you want to bring out of the products and being a part of the team. So I came up with my mission statement, which is empowering women to create a daily routine, find their inner fire, and keep it burning bright through all of life's uncertainty. You know, like that is just kind of like a package, right? I mean, I've always had the image of like, and I've written devotionals in the past, and they've all been about like fire and like burning, because I feel like when I eat right and I exercise, I am like, yeah, let's go. Like I am on it, you know? And I was like, and I just want to continue that, like keep it burning. How do you tend the fire? How do you keep it going? You know, which is part of life, you know? And I think that goes into too, like the people have noticed that I'm like positive. I'm like, cause the fire's going and I want to keep it burning, you know, like how do I do that? You know, and that comes into those, like having your daily routine, you know, you work out in the morning, you have your, which I need to do this routine. It's like, sometimes you're like, gosh, I'm preaching to myself, but yeah, I don't know. What I've done is kind of taken like what I want to do through this business. It's become kind of like a ministry for me. So I kind of shared this a little bit last night with you. It's just like, gosh, where's it going to go with it? I want to use it to bless other people, right? The idea is people are going to come in through health and fitness and wanting to feel better. But at the end of the day, like I want to show God's love, you know, like I want people to understand that they've got a purpose in life and they can't fulfill it enough if they are not fueled properly and fueled well. And that's what we can do, you know?
Talk a little bit more about that. And I don't know where we are in our notes, but you talked about it last night, and how you feel like, talk a little bit about how you feel when you are doing all the things. You talked about it a little bit, and then like the fog and how it affects your work. Yes. And all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So and this is funny because I just thought about this. I was a long time ago, I was babysitting this woman's kids, and I was like, gosh, she has a lot of energy. Is that normal? Like, I just didn't understand. And I was like, through preparing, like, she's like, here's lunch. And I was just like, oh, it's all like real foods. Like, they had like fruits and vegetables for lunch, and like they just had like hard boiled eggs and stuff. Like, I was like, there's got to be something to that. Like, I don't know. I think what happens in the American diet, I think we just kind of accept that that's what food is, I think, a lot of times. And we don't like understand that if we cut out the extra, like the packaging, the processed foods, and just like go back to the basics, that like God created a really cool machine. Like when it's fueled properly, you're like unstoppable. You know what I mean? Like, and so what I do is like, I just try to remember that like I have to do X, I have to work out so that I have energy and I have endorphins running through my body. I have to eat healthy so that I don't, because my job, which I was going to get to, is that I went to work in a call center, and I'm sure everyone has had to at some point call into a call center, and you're like, I know that on the other end someone's thinking whatever they want to think about the person on the other end that they're calling into. But at the like, I have to have like, there's a lot. I always call myself an expert generalist. Like I know a lot of, I know what is it? A lot about a little about a lot, right? Like, so there's a lot of topics that I have to know things about. And so in order for me to not have this like, gosh, I can't remember, or like I don't know, it's like mental fog, right? Like I have to eat well and fuel my body properly and fuel my mind. Mm-hmm. So if I don't do those things, then there's lots of calling for help usually.
And that's a real powerful, to just have an ear for a post that you could write or a way that you could be forming with somebody. Like, that's a really powerful thing, because how many people do you talk to who put themselves on the back burner and are running through life perpetually stressed, perpetually in a fog, perpetually tired, and just burning the candle at both ends, whether it's people who work outside the home and then are trying to come home and be mom and wife, or if it's people who have 8,000 children and just trying to keep them alive all day. Like, whatever it is, like, we don't live, Beth and I live very different lives, right? I have goats and chickens and 6 kids, and we homeschool, and she has a corporate job and 2 kids and lives in the city. Like, we have very different lives on paper, but I can identify with the concept of how I can't function when I have brain fog, right? So if she can tell that story about how she has to add, it takes time to answer everybody's questions, when you have to look up every answer, or you have to pause and ask somebody, or when, you tell one of your kids to put something in the refrigerator that was supposed to go in the dishwasher because you're so brain fogged that you don't have words. Like, you can paint that picture for somebody and they can identify with it. And then always bringing it back, because one of the other things that you talked about, Beth, when you were sharing, like being on retreat and talking about our mission statement and the before and now brought so much focus to your mission, and how you realized that it was such a ministry. And you wrote it down. Shoot, I didn't write it down here. Crap. I wrote it down in my other book. You said it was brilliant. I'll look it up and I'll tell in a minute, because I don't think I wrote it in my notes here. I think I wrote it on my calendar because I wanted to see it on top of my calendar. So I'll grab it in just a minute and I'll tell you what. It was brilliant, friends. It's worth me going to get my book. But you talked about how, talk a little bit about the Fearfully and Wonderfully Made and how you can honor that with this journey in this business.
Yeah, so it's been this is like a verse that is carried through like high school. Because I don't know, I feel like I'm an empath, so I know like how people are feeling without like really knowing exactly. Like, I'm not obviously in your life, but I can feel when you're feeling sad or you're feeling upset or something is going on. And I felt it so much in high school. Like, people are just so, their bodies are going through much changes, and you're like having so many like social things are going on with all your friends and drama and stuff. And I was just like, it really like solidified my relationship with God. And it's like, I'm Psalm 139:14, fearfully and wonderfully made, wonderful are your works that I know very well. Like, it has carried me through so many things in life, because God made these vessels in this body for service, right? Like, if you are not fueled properly, if you do not, who are you serving? And I loved it. Megan Kaufman, on one of her team calls, she said, who
can I bless by taking care of me?
Yeah, who can I bless by taking care of me? And because it's not, I think it's also coming to the realization that taking care of yourself is not selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen first. And that then you can serve others better.
Yeah, and I think that, again, the whole point of this call, I mean, the first point is to hear Beth's amazing story, but the second part of it is so that you can hear how telling your story can bring people in and connect them with this community. And so the thing, I went and got I didn't write it in my notes, I wrote it at the top of my planner so I would see it. I wrote it above my list of names because I was like, oh, that's really good, I want to see this. And then I didn't have it in my notes. And she's like, that her mission is kind of become loving your body through pursuing your goals. And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, through this whole concept of working on your goals, and Megan's idea of who can I bless by taking care of me, and this idea of being fearfully and wonderfully made, and that like God has more in mind for you than just surviving. And when we believe that, we can share more boldly with people, and we can show how we transitioned through that. We can show how we went from putting ourselves last and feeling selfish about taking care of ourselves, because that's a fairly, I don't know about men, I know that my husband runs himself into the ground in effort to take care of our family, right? And I have to tell him, like, listen, you have to stop doing that and eat lunch. Like, and so I think it's a fairly, I mean, women talk more about it, I think, than men do, but I think it's a fairly universal human pattern, I guess, or habit of not, like, taking care of yourself last, when and your job then is to help people see how much better they can serve the people that they love and care about when they are in a good place themselves, right? When you can look at your kids and smile at them and hug them and hear their complaints, versus when you're like, I can't even, and you are tended to send them away or cut them off quickly, or, Beth talking to a customer on the phone, if she is at peace and has joy in her day and feels good, that's coming through, and she can offer better customer service than if she's in pain and exhausted and counting the minutes until 5 o'clock, like, you're just better. What's that?
I'm just saying, I get better surveys.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you're better at your job, and you get better feedback from your customers, and you get better rating from your employers, and like, and then you get to start a new position, and you're not stuck with the jerks that used to yell at you, like, everything gets better, right? And so I guess what we want you to see here, and I have one more question for Beth, but what I want you to see, and hopefully what you're taking notes on, is how your life has been impacted by this, and what you have taken away from this journey that then you can turn around and bless the people behind you with, and that you need to know that it doesn't have to be from a place of perfection. It could be, we always say not to share the mess without the message. And I think sometimes you can share it when it's a little messier than you want it to be still, but that does not mean that you have to, like, share your gaping wound with the whole world. Like, there are things that I don't share about on social media that my friends know about me, and that my friends know, and people that I spend time with, so like people that I was on retreat with, know about me, but that I don't share anywhere on social media. And if someone's only contact with me is through Facebook, they have no idea about this piece of my life. And it's not unauthentic, it's just not a part of what I'm sharing, right? And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're being, false or anything like that. But you don't have to cast a super wide net to try to catch everybody. And you also don't have to share every single corner of all your deepest, darkest secrets with the world, right? But what you do need to do is what you share comes from a place of love and authenticity so that you can touch people and that you can help them get to the point of loving their body through pursuing their goals. Like, I thought that was genius. We need that on a t-shirt. Okay, last question. How do you weave workouts and nutrition into your posts?
Oh, well, so, well, a little bit. I mean, I think we shared a little bit about that, but through the, through my journey of Morning Meltdown 100, I think it's just, sharing my sweaty selfie, right? I think just showing what I wanted to get out of it and then showing the end results, right? Like I wanted to get out, like I have weight loss goals. I have fitness goals. But really what I wanted to do by doing this program is start something and finish something. Because for the longest, I would start these programs and I'd get in like a couple weeks and I'd be like, eh. Or like I'd get off track and then I wouldn't do it. And then, so it's just like, like these things, X, Y, and Z happened, but I showed up today, and I think that's real. That's what somebody needs to hear, that it's like, I'm not just like pounding it out every single day, every day, all, like I rock, it's not really about that. It's just like sharing your life and your journey through the program you're doing, or the, like I, one time in the stories, I like showed a bowl of popcorn and I was just like, I ate some and then I ate some more and then I ate some more. And you know what? That's normal. That's not part of my meal plan, but
Right.
What happened. I think just being real and honest and just taking people through the same journey that you're on,
I think that when you're showing, especially with something as big as, well, any program really, but Morning Meltdown 100 was the longest program that really any of us had ever done. There are people who had done a program multiple times, which took them through more than 100 workouts, but this was the longest program that any of us, like single program that any of us had ever done. And I think that just showing your sweaty selfie every day for 100 workouts is really great to show consistency and to show that you're doing it. And this is a health and fitness organization. And so you're showing that you are participating in health and fitness and that you are making progress, that you're gaining muscle tone, that you are losing weight, that you are changing those habits and all that kind of stuff. But what you can do to take it to the next level, like Beth was saying, when you're sharing your realness and you're weaving your story into it, suddenly it's not just a sweaty selfie anymore. It's something that somebody can learn something about themselves through. If you're sharing about how you used to just bail on something partway through and now you are doing 100 workouts in a row, and that you used to quit halfway through, or you used to not even start because you knew you couldn't finish, or whatever it is. And then like trying to think when you're posting, particularly if it's another picture of your lunch, which you should still, it doesn't mean don't share your food, but if you're posting another picture of your lunch, or if you're posting another sweaty selfie, what can you do? What can you say? How can you share this in a way that isn't just oh, that's great, Sarah, way to go you, like how can you add some value to that person's day? How can you tap into a wound or a nerve? Or how can you encourage someone else through what you're sharing so that it isn't just another workout post, Does anybody have any questions about storytelling or anything like that? The whole point here was just to kind of get you thinking through hearing Beth's story, thinking about your story. You give an example of what? Thinking about your story. Give me an example of giving value. Sure. Yeah, give me a second. Let me pull something up. And the other thing is, like, I think you have to be careful when you're looking at other coaches' posts because the comparison game is strong. And there are times that there are coaches out there who are really amazing, but I have to stop following them for a little while because I get comparison-y and jealousy and all that kind of stuff. Or I look at it and go, gosh, why do they have 8 bajillion followers? They're not doing anything, you know, like, and then I get irritated about that and I have to kind of stop. But if you look at what other people are doing and there's something good there, you can get some ideas. But you always have to put your own spin on it. So I posted yesterday, I mean, it's just a picture of me after my workout. And then I said that, you know, today was hard. I kept it to 0 jumping, but I had rolling sweat during this core workout. Today was a test, not of muscles, but of willpower, both the willpower to start, but also the willpower to listen to my body and take breaks when I needed them. I'm not good at going with the flow yet. I want to do all the things exactly as planned, and I'm working on that. So I'm proud of myself for progress today and the thinning of my face, not throttling my son when he was losing his mind over regrouping, vacuuming the carpets, touching base with my coach, blah, 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 blah. And then I asked a question at the end. I'm proud of myself for not going off my inflammation diagnostic today and for pressing play even when I didn't want to. What are you proud of? Where are you finding joy in the journey? Show me your gratitude, lift each other up, that kind of thing. Like asking a question. No, that wasn't the one with the middle finger, Joy. I had one where I thought I was pointing at my face and it looked like a middle finger. But I'm just trying to think of some other ones where, you know, if your goal is to offer value, what could you say to encourage somebody? You could ask, I like to ask a question, you know, what have you done that's hard? Have you ever had a time when you felt fill in the blank way? Kelly had an incredible post the other day. I'm not gonna be able to find it live, but she had an incredible post that was tips for struggling moms. And it was just a picture of her, and it was like, here's what you can do when you're losing your crap on your kids. And it was just a list of a couple things that you could do to regroup. That's a good example of sharing her story where people can identify with what she's going through, because we've all lost it on our kids. Yeah, sharing why you like the food that you're eating and how you put meals together. And I'll be really honest, and this is a different call, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. There are things that you do that you don't even think about anymore that other people think are like mind-blowing, right? Because you've been doing it for so long, you don't even realize that it's a big deal anymore. And so like, you can look at it and I mean, I'm blown away by people who pack a lunch for their kid every day. Like that blows my mind. But if you look around, I see a lot of coaches who just show videos in their stories of packing their kids' lunches. That's all, like, that's just a part of their stories that they share. And to them, it probably isn't that big of a deal, but they're sharing it because to other people, like those of us who don't send our kids to school, it's mind-blowing that you pack a lunch for your kid every single day.
So I can read one too.
Yeah.
So I posted, if you follow me on Instagram, it's Keeping It Real BW, but it was I was still doing Morning Meltdown. And Jericho, and at the beginning, I was like, now give yourself a little hug. I was feeling really restless this evening after a night with my MOPS group. It might have been the iced coffee or the energy that I got from being around a good, genuine group of women, but I was feeling like I had too much energy to go home and go to sleep. I kid you not, the only thing I wanted to do was go home and put on my new Team Tank and do some stretching. Revive was probably one of my favorite active recovery workouts ever. The exercises to stretch, lengthen, and breathe really focus my spirit from the restlessness feeling. It centers me, it grounds me. I kind of just want to talk, kind of went in to kind of talk about like when we got to this pose without skipping a beat, Jericho said like, give yourself a little hug, because it like you go on your back and like bring your knees up to your chest. I said, I gave myself a hug for eating an appropriate portion of foods tonight and feeling freedom from the desire to eat more because I felt like it and tasted so good. I gave myself a hug for showing up for myself and keeping a promise I made long after the newness and novelty wore off. I gave myself a hug for committing to these next 10 workouts and giving my all. 100 is within reach. I gave myself a hug for the sacrifice I've been doing for my family, especially when it's hard, which means working because I have a hard time leaving them every day. Have you ever stopped to think about giving yourself a hug? If you've lived it all, you've been through something hard, something real, something you deserve to be proud of, getting through and overcoming. You're worth it. You know, kind of like always saying like, you know, your experience and then changing it to including the person that's reading, you know?
Yeah. And asking a question is really good. And I will tell you from a writing perspective, when you write an essay or a paragraph or whatever, like the punchline's kind of at the end, but when you write a Facebook post, you have to put the punchline at the beginning so that people will keep reading, you know, like it. And I found the post that Kelly did. It was from Saturday, and she's wearing a hat and her glasses and holding one of the affirmation cards. And she has a public account. So even if you're not friends with Kelly on Facebook, like if you're down in the downline and you're not friends with her, well, anybody could see it. But it just started with, if you want to be nice to your kids, this is for you, right? That's the punchline. And you got to go, send her a friend request, but you can see her post whether you're friends or not. But so she just says, boom, here's the punchline. You want to be nice to your kids, because she knows that it's something she struggles with, and that a lot of moms struggle with losing their temper and wishing they hadn't, or feeling bad about yelling or whatever. And then you go through it and it says, I have a question. Are you compassionate with yourself? And then she tells a little bit of the story. So sometimes for me, it looks like this. And sometimes for me, I go through these difficult seasons. And she kind of talks you through that spiral part of the story, the negative part. And then here's how I come out of it. Here are 3 tips to help you snap out of it. Now, this is a very overt, I'm going to teach you something kind of post, but her story is still woven into this. Because if she just said, I'm going to teach you these 3 things, no one identifies with that, right? Fewer people identify with that. But we all can feel that tug in our heart about, you know, not handling something with our kids as well as we wanted to, right? And no, the single 21-year-old without any kids might not identify with that story. And that's okay, because there are millions of people who do identify with that story. And if you didn't catch the one, you're doing all right. But
I just want to tell you something on that too, Sarah. Like, y'all, the weeks that my Facebook posts have the least likes and my Instagram stories have the least views are sometimes the most fruitful weeks in my business, because I'm having a lot more conversations in my private messages, because people don't always comment and like on posts where you share a little more because they're vulnerable, but they catch them and they're the ones that like all your funny memes, but they still look at your stuff. So please don't, because I've done this, don't judge the goodness of it based on how many people press like, because that just so you know, because like the last few weeks, I don't know what's happened with my social media, but it's been like really low.
Something changed.
Like I've literally had to take breaks because it does mess with you a little bit, but I've had more deeper conversations behind the scenes and people referencing things they're seeing that they didn't like. And so just, I want to encourage you, don't do it for the gratification of the Bing, like do it for the person who doesn't have courage yet to press like that you're helping.
Right. Well, and I got to tell you, and then I think we're going to close. And well, actually, I'm going to ask Beth if she has anything else she wants to say, because she had so many good notes, and I don't know if we got through it all. But this is not your whole business. This is like your billboard, right? You cannot craft the most perfect post that touches all the hearts and just sit back and wait for your inbox to fill up. It's not how it works. Like, I will tell you down the line, if you are committed to the recipe and you are consistent with your power hours and you are doing like 4 or 5 power hours a week, every week for months, then you'll have a person who says, I saw all your things and I want to join you. like I don't get my business like now. My goal, I mean, this is not a tooting my own horn kind of thing, but I hit Success Club every month now. And it is not because people beat down my door. It is because I reach out to people.
Courtney?
But I reach out to them and they have seen my posts. I was like, what's that? Not me, I didn't mean it. They see my posts, they identify with my story, and then when I reach out to them, they already feel like they know me. Do you know what I mean? And Kelly's right. Most people are not going to like jump out and bare their soul on a public Facebook post. It's not the way things work. But it puts you out there and shares your story, and it helps people feel like, so the biggest objections we said earlier on were because people don't trust you yet and they don't trust themselves. And you can't control how much they trust themselves, but you can do things to show them how much you authentically care about their journey even before they've started it. And this is a way to do that, right? And so it can take you forward in that trust, in that relationship, while you are still forming with that person. And that's frankly why you will down the line, once you work through, you know, all the people you already know and you are forming with people that you've never met before, most of my team is not people that I spend time face to face with. Almost all of my challengers are people that don't live near me, that I maybe have never seen in real life, but we've connected because I've been vulnerable and shared my story with them, and they can identify with that. And then they share their story with me when we talk. So before we pray, Beth, do you have anything else that we missed in your amazing notes?
Yes. I just wanted to mention, like, guys, it's such like, don't feel icky. That's all I want to say is if you're coming at it from the feeling, the like authenticity of like how you sharing your story and how you benefited from it. And I mean, I can tell you this business and this Beachbody has changed my life. And why wouldn't I share that with someone? It's okay, you know? And if someone says that you're, you know, part of a Ponzi, I don't even know how to say that word, but whatever.
A Ponzi scheme?
Ponzi? I don't know. Okay, cool. Fine. Then that it's not for them, and move on, and don't feel bad about it, because you're not doing anything rude or mean. You know what I mean? Like, you're coming at it from a place of your heart, and you want to change lives, and that's okay. The only thing is I wanted to mention too is well, if I think about it, I'll this happens to me all the time. I like have this like thing right on the like tip of my tongue. But oh, I want to mention, guys, hey, if you want to feel like so good about what you do as a network marketer, please listen to Bob Heilig's virtual upline podcast number 121. It's called Return to Love. You'll feel
so good.
I like go back to it probably monthly.
Yeah, I've listened to it several times, and it's just, I love him. I think he's phenomenal because he talks about network marketing in a different way than a lot of other people do, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
I would be happy to pray if you would.
Let me, somebody just sent me a question in the chat, and I think I can answer it quickly, and then you'll pray, and then we'll be done. So the question is, if someone comments on a customer's Facebook page, who seems interested in their journey, do you message them too, or no? Like, my mom had someone interested in what she was doing, and she mentioned my name. Okay, so if someone comments on one of your customers' posts, I would message your customer and ask them either to put you in contact with them or like start a 3-way message or something like that. I probably personally, and then I would ask that person if they wanted to coach. And that could be
seriously, do they want to coach?
Yeah. I probably would ask them if they wanted to coach. Because you're not a predatory person But how many times have you seen somebody post something on social media, like a nutrition question or a complaint about their weight or something like that, and then all of a sudden there are 8 million people posting links of stuff they want them to buy like right away? It's a little bit of an, in my opinion, it's a little bit of an etiquette thing, that if you have that personal reference, you know, if she mentioned your name, then you could go to her and say, in this case, your customer, you could go to them and say, you know, I don't want to come out of the blue or seem pushy with this person. Would you be willing to introduce us and give me a referral so that I could help them? That's probably what I would do. And I definitely would. Angie's right. I definitely would ask them if they wanted to coach. And then that person could be their challenger. So, okay. That was my hopefully quick answer to that. Guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. I am excited to have a chance for you guys to get to know Beth better, because she's got such an incredible story. And frankly, Beth being here is a testament to the beauty of our team, because she was part of a different team before, and now is part of our team, because we have something incredible and special, and it is such an incredible place of authentic growth. And it's one thing to say, like, regardless of what happens in my business from a financial perspective or from a growth perspective, the community that we have is incredible. And that is a true statement. But I get to grow a business and earn an income for our family and help cover holes in our budget and help us have fewer, you know, more month than money kind of situations. I get to help us with that. I get to inspire belief in people that come through my doors. I get to introduce them to this. So I get to do both. I get to have a community that has changed every corner of my life and make money for my family and learn how to do it while authentically supporting people in their goals and what's important to them. And that is just not something that you get to come across very often. It's not something that you get to see in a lot of industries. And I'm super proud of that. And so when I'm sharing and when I'm inviting, I remember those kinds of things. And that like Beth was saying, that when you're sharing your heart, it doesn't have to be icky, because you're really sharing what's important to you. That I truly do believe now that there isn't anyone who wouldn't benefit from being part of this team. And it's just a matter of finding what that need is and bridging the gap between where they are now and the belief they need to say yes. And that's something that I'm very, very proud of. And that's something that I hope that that's belief that I hope you are continuing to work on if you don't have it yet. So, all right, my friend, you want to take us away?
Sure. Oh gosh, Heavenly Father, I just thank you for everything that was shared tonight. I just thank you for every coach on our team, Lord. I pray that you would just come over their heart tonight and just fill them with love. And as we go into the day of love tomorrow, Valentine's Day, it really truly is one of my favorite days, because I just can share how much I love the people that are in my life. And I just want to thank you for this team and for the opportunity to share, Lord. And I just pray that everyone feels a little bit more encouraged and empowered to share their story, because it matters and they matter, and you made them and love them. Short and sweet. I love you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you guys for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.